What's up, guys? Welcome back to JMoNRC. Today, in this video, we're going to talk about converting a HP power supply or HP server supply into a 12-volt power supply, as well as connecting them in series and if you wanted to do a 24-volt system. So let's roll that intro and let's get to it. Disclaimer, I am not an electrical engineer. If you are not at all comfortable doing this type of work, please do not proceed any further. If you're not careful, you could hurt yourself or hurt someone else. So I just got to throw that in there just so that it doesn't hold me. I'm not held accountable in case something happens. Disclaimer, you are dealing with electricity and electrical current and different voltages, both alternating and direct. So, proceed at your own risk. I am not liable for anything that may happen. All right, let's get on with it. Hey, welcome back to the JMoNRC channel. I've had a lot of questions in the last few weeks about power supplies and where I get them, how I make them, and all that stuff. I'm referring to my server power supplies that I get that I convert to turn on and operate for our chargers. So here we go. First thing you need to do is get over to eBay, get yourself a couple of these. There are a few different types of them. There are ones that have an ultra flow fan on them like that, and then there's some that have one here that says 1200 watts. You don't want the ones that say 1200 watts. You also don't want the ones that have the blue socket. So if you can try to find yourself the ultra flow fans. So these are the ones you want. So get over to eBay, find you some, and we'll go from there. Next thing you need is a 1000 ohm resistors. You're gonna need one for each. Power supply that you want. If you're gonna run one, you need one. If you're gonna run two, make 24 volts, you're gonna need two. So that's pretty simple for that. A few tools that you're gonna need. You're gonna need a good wire stripper and a wire cutter. Having a wooden clothespin would be super helpful. You're gonna need some 4mm screws. You're gonna need 3 of these. You're gonna need 3 washers, and you're gonna need 6 nylon nuts to go along with it. You're gonna need a 5/32 or 4mm drill bit. You're gonna need a good piece of wire. I've got here some 10 gauge silicone wire. I believe I got it off of Amazon somewhere. So that's what you need. You're also going to need yourself a good soldering iron with a pretty fine point. I can't really get it to focus, but a pretty fine point for soldering, and then a decent multimeter so that you can you can make sure your voltage is where it needs to be. You're also going to need a very fine tip standard screwdriver for adjusting the voltage once we get into the power supply. I forgot to mention that. So a good little flathead jeweler's screwdriver will help you when it comes to adjusting the voltage. I'll put links to the description in the description of where I've gotten a lot of this stuff. Some of it's Harbor Freight, some of it's just stuff I've had laying around for years. But anyway, jeweler screwdriver. You'll thank me later. So let's get into it. All right, so you got your power supplies. Just came in. We have no idea if they work because, well, they don't turn on, and you really don't have any idea if they work. So first thing that you're going to need is your resistor, like I was showing you before, and your clothespin. So what I do, what you got to do to make these trick into turning on, is you got to put a load between this first pad and the fourth pad. That's what the resistor's for. So what we're going to do is we're going to solder a resistor from this pad on this pad and make sure it doesn't touch anything else. So once you got your resistor out and you've got it bent so that it can line up with the pads, put it on here. Then I'm going to take a clothespin and I'm just going to clothespin it on that side. I'm going to hold it down on this pad with the driver. I'm going to plug it in. And once you know it works, you'll know, because that light right there will turn on. I'm going to pull the hex driver off here, and you see the light goes out. So it wants to see a small load across these two pins like I was showing you. So now that we know it works, now we can solder it in place. Now what I've learned over the years of doing this, I've got a 40-watt iron here, and I'm going to be pretty quick on that. And now, grab this with little pliers and drop this down on here. Sometimes this part can get a little tricky. Sometimes a forceps would work really good here too, but you get in here just like so. Get this other pin lined up where you like it. Push down on the side here just a little bit. There it is. Now that thing isn't going anywhere, and it's also up in here, protected by the circuit board. So now that's done. Now once that's done, we go ahead and turn it on again to make sure it comes on. And you can see our light came on, so this one here is good to go. So we can do the rest of these and then we'll get ready to go. Well, I should say, let me correct myself. If you're only looking for 12 volts, you only need to do one. If you're looking for 24 volts, you'll need two. 36 volts, three. You get the idea. I am actually going to make a 34 volt supply because you can go in here and fine tune the voltage on these. I can't remember exactly how much it gives you, but we're going to find that out together. So I need to do this to two more. So here we go. Alright, now that I've got my 3 power supplies that I need to make my 36 volt or my 34 volt power supply, now we got to do the right thing, and we have to safely lift the DC ground on 2 of these so that you can plug them in together and make it safe. So to do that, we have to get inside. And so you're gonna need a couple screwdrivers, or you're gonna need a screwdriver and start taking some stuff apart. I should also mention the other thing that I do is I'll go in and I'll take these handles off because I don't need them, and I'll take this off to this locking tab. I'll take this off too. So first thing that I want to do, because I am gonna make I do have to float the DC ground on 2 of these. I'm just going to write on here float 1, float 2, and ground. So that way I can keep them straight and I don't have to worry about it. So here we go. And to get into these, you got 5 bolts here, or 5 screws. 1, 2, 3, 4. Sorry, you got 4 screws. 1, 2, 3, 4. And then it kind of hinges open. These are not very tight, so it's not too big of a deal. But do that, and this kind of hinges off and pops off. So now we're into here, and the same thing is going to happen to the rest of these. So what you do is kind of pull these open here a little bit, and this is the grounded one that we're going to do first. So this one we don't need to do the ground. However, I want to take this out. I want to take this lever out of here. So to do that, I need to drill out right here. But I don't want to drill into this stuff, so I'm going to be better safe than sorry. And I'm just going to pull the screws out and slide it out here as far as I can. So to do that, there's a few things you got to do. You got to pull the AC ground off right here. Put that off to the side. Now there's 3 screws that hold this in. Can't really see it, but there's one down in here. And then this side you can. There's one here and one here. So I'm gonna go get down in here. We'll pop that one out. This is where a little needle nose pliers comes in handy. Or you just tips upside down and the screw comes right out. So there's one. Or if you have a magnetized screwdriver, that's better. This one's magnetized, it just doesn't fit in here very good, and I'm trying not to bump the camera. So get in here, remove these 2. And there we go. Now comes the somewhat tricky part of all this. And again, we're going to do this exact same dance to every one of these. And this is the tricky part. You got to kind of pop this in. And for today, for the grounded one, we just kind of need to pop it up and off to the side. Just enough so it gives us a little bit of room in here. So that we can drill this out. And to drill this one out, I'm going to use a 4mm. I'm just going to take it nice and slow. You can always hear when it's about to pop through. There it goes. So there's one. There we go. And we didn't do any damage to anything. So there we go. And that's all it takes to pull that out, and that goes right in the round recycling can. So that is all we have to do to this guy. So now we can put this back in here, and we can get the screws and put it back together. I'm using a bunch of different screwdrivers here, guys, but if you've got one, that'll work all the way around. Something magnetized would be really, really helpful in this case. And unfortunately, some of my smaller stuff is not magnetized. Okay, we got that in. Don't forget to do your AC ground again. Gotta be safe. Okay, so now we're all safe. Everything is good here. Now you're, for the most part, done with this grounded one. However, if you're going to go for a maximum voltage, there are 3 little pots right here. Let's see, zoom in on these a little bit better. It's 3 pots right here. 1, 2, 3. And you want to, one of these pots will adjust the voltage a little bit, not a whole ton, but they will adjust the voltage a little bit. So at this point, what you're going to do is you're going to spin this around and grab your multimeter. Grab your multimeter and your trusty little clothespin, and you're going to come in here, put this is your positive side, and then over here, this is your negative side. And what we're going to do is we're going to plug it in, because now it is safe and it's all good. So safe, we've got a light. And you can see I'm getting 12.2 volts on this here, which is great. But like I said, if you want to get a little more voltage out of it, well, that's pretty easy to do. You just got to come in here and you want to adjust one of these pots. And the one that you want to adjust is the one closest to the power socket, not the output, but the power socket. So we've got this set here, and I was incorrect here, guys. Sorry. Correct myself. This is the positive side. This is the negative side. So there we go. So we got positive 12.3. And we're going to get in here and we're going to adjust just this pot ever so slightly. So you see I'm going clockwise and it's going down in voltage. There's 12, and I believe you can get around 11.8, but it doesn't, there's no stop. So if you keep going around clockwise, it'll actually pop back up. So this one we can get 12.8 out of it if we wanted to, but I'm really looking for 11.8. I'm looking for the lowest possible voltage today. So I've got my voltage down as low as it'll go. So now I'm all done with this supply. I can wrap it all up. So here we go. All right, number 1, done. Now it's just more of the same. So I'm going to go ahead and pull this screw out of here. Now, these here, because we're going to float the AC or float the DC ground, we're going to take these a step further, and I always undo the fan. These floaters, we're actually going to pull the whole board loose from the outside here. So to do that, it's a little bit tricky. So now we got that loose. Now we need to pop this this LED out, which is pretty easy. You just kind of put something against it and push against it, and it pops out. Then the IEC outlet will pop loose. So now that we got everything loose, we're going to come in here and so it's kind of tricky. Kind of got to pry it a little bit, wiggle things around a little bit, but it will come out of there. Just like that. This fan likes to take a second to come out of here because it's kind of stuck down to this non-metallic piece here. So now that that's out, I can drill these out. I'm going to go over here so I don't make a mess. And that'll take care of this. Again, this comes out and goes in the trash. Or recycling bin. Sorry. That's what I meant to say. Now, we've got to take and we got to drill out all three of these. So to do this, you can use the same 5/32 drill bit, or you can use a 1/4 inch drill bit. It's up to you. I'm going to try it with the 5/32 bit and see if it works. Some days it will, some days it won't. So I had to up it to a 7/32 bit. So we're gonna knock this out here real quick. So we're gonna get in here. And that does the trick. That pops that boss out of there, so that it's no longer threaded because we don't want it threaded anymore. All right, there we go. We got all three bosses out of there. Number 1, number 2, number 3. Now you need to get your nylon screws, and I use a nylon screw with a washer on one end. Put it in there, and then on this side, I put a nut. I don't go all the way down. I don't put the nut all the way down either, because you're going to have to get the board back in. So I'm going to go ahead and just put this down a little bit further. But there you have it. Not too far. Get a 1/4 inch, 6 millimeters, somewhere in there. And I'm going to go ahead and do that 2 more times. All right, so after you get your nylon screws in place, now you've got to open up the mounting holes for the circuit board so that they fit. Now, I've made the mistake of going too big on these, so I would say stick to a 6/32 or an 8/32 bolt at the most, or a 3 to 4 millimeter bolt at the most. So that you don't destroy the circuit board and render your nice new power supply useless. So I have here my bolt and my drill bit. Check the size. Yeah, it looks pretty close. So you're just going to come in here and do bolt mount number 1, number 2, and number 3. After you get your holes drilled, check to make sure that your bolts fit. And this one's just a little bit tight. After you drill your holes, make sure your bolts all fit. And open them up a little bit more if you have to, like I did. So now that we've got this here, all right, now we can start putting this thing back together. I always start with this one back here in the corner because it's kind of a pain in the butt.
And then I come over here, get that guy going, get this guy here happy. There we go. Okay. So now we got all that in. Now comes the tricky part, especially here, because now we need to run these screws all the way in. Alright, there's one. Go in here and get this one. This wants to be a little bit of a pain in the butt. So I'm going to go ahead and hold this one. The needle nose. And they don't have to be crazy tight, just enough. Get them down in there. Do it on this side here. Okay. There we go. Now they're all in. Now the next trick is I'm going to put this in here. Get that started. Careful of your resistor. Take this guy here. Get it started. The trick with leaving these loose down here is that I can spin this from down here. I can spin this now on down. There we go. That one's snug. I'll make this guy here snug. There we go, that one's snug. Now comes the tricky one. We gotta get down in here. So, get down in here and get this one taken care of. Gotta make sure that this there we go. Now that's down in there. Get in here and get that on there. Get that nut on there. And same dance. So you can't really see that while I'm tightening it, but it's in there. So you can see in there we've got that done. And we've got these two here and this side done. Now your supply is safely grounded for DC use. I'll go ahead and pop this fan back in there, pop this guy here back in, Get this LED back in here as well. Like so. All right, that's all done. That's back in there. Now we're gonna grab our trusty multimeter again. Remember, this is your positive side. Clip that on there. Put that on there. We're gonna plug it in. All right, there we go. Now, again, we're going for some different voltage than what most people do. When they do these, they're looking for 25 to 24, 24 to 25 volts. I'm actually trying to go lower, so I'm going to go back in here, grab this screw. Let's first see what we can get in total here. So there's 12.7, there's 12.8. I have seen 12.9 on these. There we go, 11.8, 11.7. That's what I'm going for, is 11.8. You got about a voltage, about 1 volt worth of adjustment there. That's what I'm looking for, is 1.8, 1.7. Or 11.8, 11.7. So this one's all done. Now we can put this back together. After you get that all set, you can put your lid back on. First things first, do not forget to go in here and put this back in. And make sure you reattach your AC ground. You never want to have anything not grounded. There we go. And I'll go ahead and put this back together. There we go. All right, once you get done putting this all back together, you're going to end up with 3 extra screws. These were the screws that were holding the circuit board down. These are going in the big round recycling bin. And that is how you float the DC ground on the HP DPS-1200FB. So now that we've got all 3 of these done and ready to go, now it's time to put them together. Now you can choose to stick these together however you want. You can choose to, throw some double stick tape in here or some Velcro. What I've found works actually pretty darn good, just good old clear packing tape. And for me, for this particular instance, I'm going to do just that. One side, flip it over. And we're going to do our other side. nice not having these tabs here. Pinch that together. Not going anywhere. So now that is put together, we're in good shape. Now, not necessary, but never a bad idea. I always go in here and mark negative, positive, because man, I tell you what, I will forget if I don't do it. And also, if you flip this over, it's the same thing. So we're negative and positive. However, these pins here are different on the bottom than they are on the top. So there we go. Next thing you're going to need to do is get your spare wire out, and I'm going to go ahead and I trim off about 8 millimeters or so, 1/4 inch, whatever, 3/8 of an inch, whatever you want it to be, and tin that. Okay, now once you got that done, then you can come over here with your multimeter, and at this point you're going to need a wide together IEC cable. And we're going to test this here. Turn one on, and see both lights come on. We're connected in series. And we should have, between here and here, we have 24 volts, 23.9. And I am going for 34 volts, so I'm going to be a tad bit over. So we're going to see how this works. So there we go. Now again, we soldered from here down to here. So if you go from here to here, you're not going to get any voltage, but from here to here, you will. And if you still want to use 12 volt, you could solder your bullets right here, because you'll still get your 12 volt reading here or here. I'd probably do it off of the, I would actually, no, I say that, put your 12 volt source, like if you have any PC fans or a 12 volt only charger, put it on the supply that does not have the DC ground lifted. So there we go, and that's all done. So I hope you guys enjoyed this and found it useful. So till we meet again. Thanks, guys.